Saturday Night Live, one of the biggest institutions in the history of television. Let's break down how SNL's pilot both set the tone for what was to come, what has evolved past it, and which parts of the legendary DNA are still going strong 50 years later. A show built on tradition, SNL still carries many elements from episode 1 all the way to episode 988. But the SNL debut looks very different from what the show has become 50 years down the line. We still stick with the familiar cold open sketch that leads every show, and now the classic repeat after me bit that plays on every single SNL highlight reel. Then we hear the 8 most legendary words in the history of television. Live from New York, it's Saturday night. Iconic. Day 1. That phrase alone has stood the test of time more than any other tagline in the history of TV. That one line sets the tone for everything that follows over the next 5 decades. The original cast was dubbed the not ready for primetime players, and they were the show's workers, filled with special guests: Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Dan Aykroyd, Jane Curtin, Lorraine Newman, and Garrett Morris. Names that would echo through the halls of Studio 8H for the next 50 years. Chevy Chase, John Belushi, and Dan Aykroyd all had a chance to lead their own sketches. Most bits were a group effort. Sketches were short, punchline heavy, and didn't require much range. No major recurring characters, but you start to get a sense of each performer's energy, especially Chevy and Aykroyd. The real spotlight, though, isn't just on the cast, it's on the format. Everyone is playing into the concept of live sketch comedy as a whole, not just in their own moments. The biggest difference we see coming out of episode 1 is the variety show nature of the show. The host, George Carlin, opens with an iconic SNL monologue, but does not appear in any of the sketches. The musical acts, Billy Preston and Janice Ian, perform between bits just like today, but each gets 2 songs, making 4 musical breaks instead of 2. Andy Kaufman stops by for his classic Mighty Mouse routine. Valerie Bromfield does a tight 5-minute stand-up set. Albert Brooks creates a short film that plays in the middle. We even get a guest spot from Jim Henson's Muppets for a puppet show. These interludes between sketches create a completely different pace than what we see on TV today, a true variety show. But there are still plenty of sketches to break down. New Dad, the first ever fake product ad, which becomes one of SNL's longest-running hallmarks. Show Us Your Guns, a sketch that could run today. It's a time capsule and proof that SNL has always had its finger on the pulse of culture. Breaking into someone's house just to sell them security, smart and funny. A series of medicine commercials parodying prescription ads before they became the industry they are now, way ahead of their time. And then, of course, there's the glue that holds the show together. Weekend Update. Hosted by Chevy Chase, Weekend Update is largely untouched, parodying the nightly news headlines. Chevy didn't waste any time with this opportunity. He used it to set himself apart from the rest of the cast from day 1. And for better or worse, he never looked back. Most of the jokes still hit. Comedy is the entertainment medium that ages the worst, so not every punchline will resonate or make sense today, but the writing chops are definitely there. Not everything aged well. There's a gross age of consent sketch that just doesn't belong. It's uncomfortable and a reminder that while SNL is known for being progressive and edgy, it still couldn't completely escape the cultural ick of the times. The biggest change? SNL becomes less of a variety show as it evolves, and more of a sketch show. The host eventually starts getting involved in all the sketches. The musical guests stick to 2 performances, 1 per half. Stand-up performances are replaced by celebrity cameos. While cartoons and shorts become an important part of the show, the Muppets and short films disappear. Another major difference from episode 1. No characters. Chevy is Chevy. Dan Aykroyd gives a subtle taste of what will become his Irwin Mainway character. But other than that, the main cast doesn't yet have the iconic personas they will be known for. The idea of an episode of SNL today with no recurring characters seems impossible. One bit that did make the cut: the Killer Bees. A very dumb and silly sketch that came and went. It was the only note from NBC. No more bees. Cut the bees. Because of that note, the bees came back the very next week, and appeared 11 more times in Season 1. That's the DNA of SNL, punk, rock, topical sketch comedy that is going to do exactly what Lorne Michaels and the cast want to do and nothing else. And if you don't like it, you'll have to pull the plug because we are live. This is a show that very quickly evolved into a formula that still exists today. They dialed it in fast and never looked back. So, while Episode 1 is an incredibly different type of show, the energy remains exactly the same half a century later. SNL's pilot is half a dozen different types of bits thrown together in front of the red light of the camera, but it's also incredibly confident in its format. And that confidence is what made it a mainstay from day one. You can feel the show figuring itself out in real time, and that spirit never really left. If you're watching the pilot today, it's less about individual sketches and more about appreciating how many traditions launched on a single night. This is a show that will go on to launch some of the greatest comedy careers of all time, become the benchmark of making it in Hollywood, literally shape the political landscape of America. And it all started with a dumb repeat after me bit. Simplicity at its finest. An SNL tradition.